everybody, and welcome to Sparring Partners. I'm Monica Paolini from Sensafili, and I'm your host today. And with me today, I have Leonardo Siqueira, who is the Data Mobilization Mobile Ads Director at TIM Brazil in Brazil, as you can imagine. And today we are talking about a topic that we have already covered a little bit in the past, which is network APIs, or more generally APIs. And the reason why I'm very lucky and happy to talk to Leonardo is because Brazil has been at the forefront of API adoption. Their operators use APIs and get revenues from it. So it's fully commercial. And we will get into the reason why it is so. But it's especially interesting to talk about in terms of not just what are the opportunities for APIs, but what could really the service and look like, and how operators can monetize it. So, Leonardo, welcome so much to Sparring Partners.
Hello, Monica. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here for the invitation. I'm Leonardo Siqueira. I'm the responsible for this line of new business here in Team Brazil. And I agree with you that we are in the forefront and ahead of a lot of markets in this kind of business. And I think it's a huge opportunity for telco companies in the near future to monetize their audience and their technology and these new 5G and opportunities in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's again, it's really exciting because uh, you guys are ahead. So maybe you can tell us why is so special about Brazil?
Yeah, a long story short, this start back in 2023. 2023, yeah. First of all, I'm responsible for these new opportunities, new business since 2020, and then we start to with mobile ads, and then we start to monetize also some data. We start some local agreements back here in Brazil back in 2021 or so, and since the Open Gateway was officially launched back in 2023, yeah, in Mobile World Congress, we jump over this as an opportunity to engage and to do all together with other carriers. Because first of all, prior to Open Gateway Initiative from GSMA, we were doing more or less the same here in local market, but more addressed by the players in the market. So they were approaching us, asking us for to design some products and develop some products, score based or SynSwap or so. But they are not standardized. They are not in the same way. So it's hard to scale up this kind of business if we are not all together in this to go to the same place. So when in Mobile World Congress 2023, GSMA officially launched the Open Gateway, we saw as an opportunity to do joint efforts to prepare the products and to scale these in the market. Brazil is a market, and this is the part in the let's say in the demand side. In the offer side, what we were seeing is Brazil is a highly digital country. So we are ahead of probably Brazil is top five countries in the world in usage of, I don't know, uh, digital banks, even social networks, digital services. So we have a lot of digital services. Brazil jumped the let's say from non-digital country for a completely digital country because of the mobile penetration. So for us is an opportunity because we are a mobile company for sure, and moreover, with these all digital services, you the country embraces a new kind of challenge in order to protect their users, because now you don't have more, let's say, face control or IDs or so you need to be creative in order to do a good onboarding process without that much friction, but in the same time should be security based. So it was kind of easy in the demand side to discuss with other carriers here in Brazil, other major carriers, and align with them to go for the same space. So we start over to standardize it over anti-fraud products. So we already have some of them, but they were not, as I mentioned, not this to scale it was difficult. So we agree with them to standardize the product, and in the meantime, the market embraces this as well, to have this as a new kind of solution. So it's more like I think it's like almost a perfect storm for us, because in the demand side we were ready to fulfill this product demand, and the market needed. So in the Brazil, so I think we are ahead of everything because of this perfect storm.
Now, another thing that I've heard, and that was actually covered in a previous um, uh, conversation I had with Deutsche Telekom, is that in countries like Germany, regulation is actually slowing down deployment. And in Brazil, seems like you had a good sort of a balanced solution. So you have both you protection of privacy, security, and at the same time, it is such that it's not slowing down deployment. Is that the way you see it?
I don't know that much about some other particularly local why they struggle with the privacy laws and so. Here in Brazil, we have a law that we call LGPD, but is mainly is it's inspired by DPDR, European DPDR. So the concept is more or less the same. So we need consent for a lot of things and so on. Um, I don't know if there is a different, maybe speaking with our Italian colleagues, maybe there is some differences, because, for example, credit bureaus here in Brazil, because Brazil has some credit limitations. If it's it's a more a is a development country, so credit is very important. So for example, during the elaboration of the law, the credit bureaus, they have a special permission to give agreement with a credit scoring or anti-fraud approach without consent. So maybe this is a bit different from Europe overall, but it's not the reality for every product, because some products we need consent. We face these. It's all the products that we are developing here. It's there is the, there they have the concept of a privacy by design approach. So we of course we have a 60 million users customer base, so we need to be very careful with these. But for us is more it's in our blood right now, so we are seeing that as an opportunity to better protect our users, and at the same time, of course, respect the laws and the regulatory affairs that we are facing here in Brazil.
That's great to hear that regulation doesn't have to be the thing that slows down deployment. Now, you mentioned, and so uh, understanding the use cases is clearly crucial here. So why don't we start with the fraud detection? And if you can take us, like, so what is that? What type? I mean, you can have different types of fraud, and so
Yes.
what kind of fraud and how APIs help? Because obviously people are, even without APIs, you want to combat fraud. So what is that APIs can do that you cannot do otherwise?
Yeah, for me, They are not silver bullets. I mean, there is no one solution that fits all kind of frauds. So I think generally we use three pillars, and I think we already discussed two. So first of all is product standardization. So we did that with the other carriers here in Brazil. Products roadmap, and so also is more technical stuff dealing with the products. The second one is the regulatory affairs that you mentioned. So we need to follow privacy laws and do privacy and security by design products. And the third one, I think, is related with your question here, is like our go-to-market approach. So in go-to-market, what we are seeing here in Brazil, um, as we are ahead of a lot of uh, technology and digital solutions, not all the people are used to have these as a solution. I was discussing with some banks, and what they said is they have a lot of technology, they have a lot of education for the users, but in the meantime, for a fraud, they have like a triangle. They have the bank, the user, and the fraudster. And the fraudster, usually they don't attack the bank because the bank has all the shields and technology and security to to mitigate this kind of fraud, but they attack the user. So it's what in the fraud world they call social engineer. So they try to convince some real user, some actual user, to do something not that correct. For example, to do a transfer for another bank, or to authenticate and send them the password and so on. So it's what we call social engineer fraud. And for example, we have a solution that's called number verification that seamlessly we verify the match between the mobile number, and if they are connected in certain website. For example, if they are onboarding in Uber or in a bank, they put their number, and usually you receive a token to do a 2FA authentication, for example, right? And when you receive that, you can receive from email, WhatsApp, or SMS or so. This is this is where the fraudster try to attack you. So some people send this token. It's a password. They send this authentication for a third person, and this person enter in your account and do some misbehaviors over there. So when we are doing this background with our technology, with our network, and we can confirm or not if the user are trying to connect certain, even mainly banks or wallets or e-commerces, or so financial transaction based solutions. um, we are protecting our users. So it's a way that, or we can also confirm, for example, if the user is located where they are doing that transaction, for example. So it's a way that we are protecting our user without creating additional friction, because it should be very short experience, because it's like a one click and then you're moving to another page. So it should be very quick, of course. But in the meantime, we are able to break the way that you're sending something to someone that could share with other people, other person, and start a fraud over again. So that's why I think is our value creation. We are protecting the user. um, we are we are helping financial ecosystem, and we are not increasing the friction, because of course, if you try, for example, in UK, you have Uber Eats or so. So if you're trying to just order a pizza, you don't want to share you don't want to have a facial biometrics or share your ID or so. Okay, you can expect that, for example, a 24 hours acceptance for a bank account, for example, maybe. But in Brazil, we are very used to have a very short term and real time in applications. And once you give that for the user, you cannot remove it. So it's from the business. It's for our human nature. So once you get used to this convenience and to have you can order from your mobile and so on, it's fine. But someone could hurt you or could hurt the app or the restaurant or the bank or so. So I
So
think
is this
we
a
can act
Mhm.
in the in this middle.
Yeah, and I think this is really important for everybody here, for both from the financial institution or the restaurant or whatever, because otherwise they don't get the transaction to go through and to protect the user. But now it seems like you use two factor um, authentication. So which is obviously a pain for everybody knows that like everybody, I mean, you need it, but you really hate it. So is this a way that you would be not using that? It would be better than that?
I think so because, as I told you, I think there were there wasn't there aren't a silver bullet because uh, silver bullets. I mean, for fraud, you need to put all these layers all together. But as you mentioned, for example, here in my corporate email, I need to authenticate every time in certain app every time. So it's boring and you get for of course I'm working, so it's kind of obligation. But for us, a user that I mentioned, for example, if they just want to order a pizza, they will in the end maybe they will get like like 10 years ago, and they will call the pizzeria to ask for the pizza. Because I mean, if we is, uh, put that much layers on security, of course if you have much more security, you're more safe for sure. But this is the trade-off that you should balance, and this is in the business side. So as I mentioned, the ecosystem, they are balancing. For example, in Brazil, we have a kind of it's real ahead of other countries. We have a real-time transaction from banks to banks. So I can open my bank app and I can transfer you a money, and in real time you receive the transfer or payment or so. It's a real common practice here in Brazil, and we have a billions of transactions on daily basis here in the country. So this became a solution very good for don't have more physical money and so on, but at the same time brings another kind of fraud opportunities for the fraudsters, because they can have some new accounts just to receive this money and to laundry money or so. So what we are proposing is a kind of layer that's agnostic. So I'm not rely on certain operational system or certain partner. So I can cover everything, everyone, and besides that, I can be in the backend between the internet, the navigation, and let's say the application ecosystem at the same time. So I think maybe the difference is this one, because when you have 2FA, you put a lot of effort or a lot of uh, needs that the user interact and do a lot of stuffs um, to enter in a certain service. Maybe it's useful for a bank, but you cannot accept that, for example, if you're in a hurry and try to get an Uber or to get or order a pizza or so, or other service that can um, be available in the near future. So I think we are well positioned, and because we are a layer that the user is not, they are not seeing themselves. So it's not it's agnostic for them, it's agnostic for ecosystem. So I'm not related with operational system or a certain kind of devices or so. So I think is a good position.
Yeah, actually, and also with two-factor authentication, as long as I get the code and I give it to you, then you can use the code. So that's
Yes.
a little bit of a workaround that I guess it wouldn't work if you are checking the phone number. Now, what happens if I'm ordering the pizza and I'm on Wi-Fi? Would that
Uh,
still work?
we this is a very good question. We faced that in the first phase that I told you, that the first pillar, I mean, product design and regulatory affairs and go to market. In product design, we faced this as a kind of uh, thread or difficult during the design of the product. But we have a solution that we kind of force a bypass. The application has a kind of solution that they can force the connection with the network, the mobile network, in order to check or not if the user are connected or in the certain area with a certain number, if they just swap at their sim or so. So we have a solution that we can bypass the Wi-Fi if the user is on Wi-Fi.
That's actually very good because a lot of traffic is Wi-Fi, and so
Exactly.
it's just it would be like obviously that would just work only on a
Yeah, and
you know,
here in Brazil, because we
yeah.
face two, the other solution that we have that in Brazil is always quite common, in Europe not that much. We have a lot of customer base that are all already in prepaid world. So at certain points of the month, maybe they don't have data to connect with our network, but of course they are connected in our network. We are not just as an offer side, we are not giving them free data or so to navigate. So they are kind of in a on hold position, let's say, in the data connection. But even these users, we are able to connect them and check whether or not they are in the website or in certain location or so. So even if so, we face these two issues during the product development. So one of is Wi-Fi connection, so connected in other network besides ours, and the other one is when they are not connected, really connected, and they are not able to navigate. And we have also a solution for this one.
Well, that's actually a very good point because so basically the API traffic, right, API related traffic is not part of your whatever data license. Obviously, that doesn't add
Exactly,
anything, but it's independent in the sense that if you, for any reason, do not have it,
exactly.
you
Because
just
in Brazil, for example, right now I think we have more or less 45% of the total
Mhm.
mobile world in on prepaid. So for us should be a problem. And in the end, banks or I mean the whole ecosystem, they don't want to have a part of your audience. They want to confirm everyone, because otherwise you have
Yeah.
a, a s- you select the worst cases, because I can be protected if I selected two, but maybe the fraudsters, or probably the fraudsters, they don't want to be covered. So I need to cover everyone.
Mhm. Yeah. Now you also mentioned so there is one way is to check the phone number and the other is location. So is it something you want to do both of them? Because I guess somebody could still maybe spoof the phone number. Is that
It's not a problem, because in the end we are checking in our end, so in our core network. So even if they spoof the number, it's like a mask that they are doing in, let's say, to keep it simple, in software side, and I'm seeing like in a hardware side. So in the end, the number that is connected in our network is 1234. And even if they mask in between and are showing other kind of number, we are seeing the real one. So we are able to also to mitigate this problem. In
yeah.
Brazil, it's quite common as well to
Mhm.
have some calls that you're seeing, maybe you recognize the number or you're checking the number, but it's just a masked number.
So, what you say about fraud is very interesting because it's not just fraud, it is actually a way to prove who you are, which is important
Exactly.
even if money is not involved. Let's say that.
Exactly.
And so,
Exactly.
I guess that that's going to be next use cases, or how does that play out?
Yeah. So what we saw last year, since we launched it, we start to speed up on the, let's say, on the second quarter. In the first quarter, we have everything already settled, but to approach the market, we started in the second quarter, and we were seeing a strong speeding up on the market adoption. Like by the second half or so, we do four times more transactions that in the previous year that I mentioned to you, that we had some solutions besides the open gateway itself. And I agree with you. This is like our, let's say, our first wave of product launch. So we have SIM swap, we have number verification, we have device location, and then we have QIC, know your customer. That's not, it's a fraudster, but it's more a verification tool. And this is like, we are addressing this first wave of opportunities in the market. But I agree with you that there are a lot of more to explore in the future, because first of all, we should be perceived as a potential solution on API's ecosystem. And let's say 2 years ago, for sure, we were not considered for, for anyone. Right now, maybe we are doing some agreements with large banks here in Brazil, and then you start to do good use cases and explore these, of course, in a commercial way, and then you start to get traction. And I think to launch new kind of products like quality on demand, for example, this network based solution could be easier, because the difficult part here in the, let's say, in the to approach the market and to reach this market, it's how we can be perceived as a potential aggregator and solution for this kind of business, because they don't, the guys on their side, for example, the anti-fraud guys or cred, or even some solutions or business side, they don't see us in the first time. Okay, I can have a solution for a carrier. So, and the ecosystem that we deal with is different from example that our B2B team, sales team, are used to do. So usually they approach people on tech side or even in supply sides, purchasing and so on, but maybe they don't have connections, even if, because huge companies, so maybe they don't have connections on fraud, credit, or product side to propose these kind of solutions. So I think this is the, besides the product itself, I think the next challenge that we have is how to help to create this kind of demand on their end. So to see us as an opportunity to API solutions, and also invite them to come to us and propose new product development. Okay, so you have, once you have connection, maybe you can do this and blah blah blah, and maybe we can design new products, even if it's not in the, for example, in the open gateway roadmap, we can propose this as a kind of develop this ecosystem. I strongly believe on this approach.
Yeah, and I think that what you're talking about is very important because it's not like you know what people want, so you need to adapt to what they need, but you also have to be able to communicate what is that you can do with them. So it's kind of like uh, it continues back and forth because it's kind of like you get to know someone, you start dating someone, you just get to know, and then eventually, but it takes time. It doesn't, you know. So let's go back to the pizza example, for instance. So I want to buy my pizza, but it's not the pizza place that is going to use the API. It's whoever doing the transaction, I guess. So the main customers for you is the whatever financial institution. It could be a bank, credit card, or I don't know, the a wallet type of outfit, right? Is that
Yes, exactly. This should be like a part of their ecosystem. For example, Uber Eats or a bank or
yeah?
so, a delivery app or so. They have this platform, and they should provide solutions for their ecosystem. For example, if you, in the pizza example, you have restaurant, you have the delivery boy, you have the customers, so you can face fraud in any kind of
Hmm.
these layers. And our agreement will be with this platform solution that they can provide this a kind of safe mode for their own ecosystem. So we are expecting in the near future provide them better solutions, even for banks, for example, or wallets or so. And I mean, what we are seeing this opportunity because it's not only for this first layer on fraud, but in the future could be for credit scoring to help them to better their loan rates, or for example for them for give them their users a better quality on network, or for example a streaming can provide a better quality and guarantee even in for example in a large event or stadium, better quality on 4K if they are seeing the match, or even if they are seeing, I don't know, other streaming video for their children. I don't know. So I can manage that in order to not um, prioritize. I'm prioritizing this audience, but I'm not hurting the other users that I have for sure. So it's
Hmm.
a way that we can be more safe and give this for the platforms that are contract the service itself.
Now, if you have a platform like a delivery platform, they would be using the payment system of a bank, a wallet, or whatever. So they don't
Great wallet,
necessarily
yeah.
do the so would you be dealing with them mostly or with the whatever entity does the payment? Would be like the credit card or
Yeah,
whatever.
in the payments in the payment transaction, probably it will be with the payment ecosystem. But for example, in a certain platform, I can help them to avoid fraudsters to onboard with for example using your login, or trying to help them in order to not redeem benefits that they are not should
All right.
use it, for example, because for example usually it's part of the world. So you have an acquisition cost, and usually you give some benefits for new users, discount coupons and so on. But if the same person are using this is using this every day, so it's not fair. But you need to have some ways to avoid this, and not because it could be a benefit, but in the case in certain case it becomes a nightmare because you need to control a lot of things if they're using this correct way or so.
Hmm. So let me ask you, so how do you get, say, a bank, a credit card company, and whatever? Do you go to them directly? Because it's not just you in Brazil, the other operators are offering the same APIs. So is it every major operator goes to the same bank, or do you have an aggregator? Do you have, how do you get to the
Yeah, right now, this is the part that is under developing yet. As I mentioned, the demand part is the part that we need to work is our biggest challenge, I think, for this year. Right now, what we are doing, we are we are leveraging on our own B2B sales team, and usually, for example, when I have a certain bank I provide them telco services. Usually, the other carriers are not providing. So it's more or less the market is already, let's say, given, but it's difficult to reach these guys that mentioned to you in the other part, like fraud, anti-fraud, or credit, or so on. We are also have a lot of aggregators because we believe, like for example, in the A2P SMS ecosystem is already in place, so they know how to approach these and sell a multi-carrier solutions. And so we have a lot of agreements with them, and we are also developing agreements with hyperscalers in order to have, like, let's say, like a data marketplace that we can put our products over there, and maybe some developers or let's say startups or so, they can buy directly from cloud solutions that they already sign up for other tech solutions. They can also have these as a kind of API solution.
No, okay, that's very interesting. So you have a multi-channel strategy, but also you could charge in different ways. So you could charge on a per call, on a per subscription basis, on a single API package, set of APIs. How do you think about it?
Yeah, we started in a simple way, charging for transaction based fee. So usually we have a price table price that we have certain price points, and if they consume a lot, of course large accounts, they have some discounts in volume consumption. We start to discussing about to have like a package, but right now we have like a single price point for each product, and we are dealing the same price in each channel, and we are moving forward with this approach.
So because I guess that also depending on the use case, different types of billing, different types of charging might be more or less suitable, right?
Yes, the products that we launched so far, it's okay to have a transaction based fee. For
Mhm.
the new products, for sure, maybe we should have a different kind of pricing method or pricing way, and that we should discuss. But right now, for just to APIs and to anti-fraud APIs, I think is it's the price per transaction is quite the way that the market's working here.
Mhm. So let me ask you a final question. What are the next use cases you see coming up? You already mentioned some, but it's also fraud. That's kind of like
Yeah,
the first.
yeah, we are still dealing with additional fraud use cases. Like, for example, we will launch this year a scam call that we are able to understand if, for example, if someone is masking or trying to doing a social engineer fraud with you, because usually a fraud calling, it's an outbound call. You stake you the fraudster trying to keep you in the line for a while. So there are certain, let's say, certain points that highlighting for a bank or so that maybe is a fraud, and if they are doing a suspect transaction, maybe is a way that they can identify as a fraud. We are also developing the QOD, quality on demand solution. That's a different, totally different product. And we are exploring, as I mentioned to you, with partners, trying to understand from the market what they need, what the kind of business challenge and business issues they are facing, and what we, as a tech partner, what we can provide to them. So these two is already in the roadmap. We are, for example, the know your customer. We are preparing new versions that can provide different kind of solutions, but is more related with adapt the products for the use cases. That's a good approach, and also developing new ones, some of them under the GSMA Open Gateway initiative, some of them maybe trying just to understand what the market needs and developing internally. And maybe the next phase will be to propose for GSMA, for example, to have a international standard on this.
Yeah, actually, I do have a very other final question, and
No
then
problem.
I'll let you go. But what about the recently announced Aduna, the Ericsson um
Okay.
joint venture? Is that going to help you?
Yeah, we are trying to understand with them how their role will be, because it was not that clear so far. We are just in early conversations, but we are trying to understand whether where they will be in this ecosystem, and try to understand what will be their role, like an aggregator or so. I imagine so, but we are trying to understand them. I think the more the best. So if they are investing and they believe in this market, it's a good way. It's not their the only partner, and there is. So I think it's a way that the world maybe are seeing as a enlarging business, and everyone is investing. So this is a very good sign, I think. Imagine in a way that Ericsson investing, and maybe they will be followed by other partners, other carrier partners in the ecosystem, as a future opportunity in our world, because we know the carriers has a huge challenge for the next few years to provide different kind of solutions. And we are strongly believe that this could be since the 4G we didn't develop that much, or we didn't, let's say we don't we were the cow and they milked us a lot, and now maybe is the time that we can elaborate and be more, let's say, has at least in Team Brazil, we have the ambition to have this protagonist approach, to don't be addressed by the market, but to help the market to their solutions, and to be a tech provider for them.
Absolutely. Well, Leonardo, thank you so much. It was extremely interesting, informative, and inspiring, I would say, to talk to you. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today.
I thank you, Monica, for the conversation. It was very good, and thank you so much for the invite. And hope to see you in the next few months.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for listening or watching this. If you liked it, do subscribe to the Sparring Partners podcast feed. Thank you so much.